Sales, it's me, and I'm going to change things up a little bit. Instead of doing anything radio related today, I want to talk about my old car. Yes, it's an old car. It's an old station wagon, and I absolutely love it. I've gone through life being a gearhead. I love old cars. I've had all kinds of cars, mostly GM stuff, primarily Chevy, Pontiac. This is a 1967 Buick Sport Wagon. This is actually my second Buick. I had a 73 Riviera a long time ago, one of the boat tail cars, and that was a fun car. And I usually used it to tow cars to the drag strip with. So why a station wagon? Well, you know, pretty soon I'm already in my 60s, so you know, I've had my Camaros and Chevelles and Firebirds and, you know, all kinds of different cars. I've had a lot of Chevy Impalas. I probably had at least 10 of them. But this car is kind of special. As you can see, it's got the glass roofline, similar to the old Vista Cruiser. Now, Oldsmobile Vista Cruisers were a very popular car. Oldsmobile sold a lot of them. Unfortunately, Buick didn't sell very many sport wagons. That was one of the reasons why it attracted me to this. Now, if you've been a long-time subscriber, you saw my 65 El Camino. Well, I sold that car to a friend of mine, and you've seen some of his videos where he comes over here and shows me some of the changes he's done to the car. And he drives it every day. But the thing is that Mrs. RW kind of, you know, I had a Muncie 4-speed, and it was kind of hard for her to try to learn how to drive a stickinette. So I made sure, I said, let's get something different. Let's get a station wagon, get something automatic. So a little over 5 years ago, I found this. And it was literally in my backyard, and it was a Missouri car. And the fellow that I bought it from the original owner, and the car had 49,000 miles on it. Now, here's where the story gets a little weird. I saw this car in February, and it was sitting outside, and it started and it ran, but it ran very poorly. And here's where the story gets a little interesting. Okay, here's the engine compartment of the car. As you can see, it's patinaed. You know, a lot of my cars, I usually take this engine compartment kind of apart and detail it. I didn't do it with this car. It's a lot of work, and quite frankly, things I'd rather do with my time. But the car is basically, you can start it and drive it now. But when I got it, now this engine, let me just start by saying, this is a 340 cubic inch Buick, not a 350. The 340s was the base motor for this car. You could get a 400 Buick motor as well. Some are equipped with 3-speed automatic. This has the 2-speed automatic. It's kind of like a Power Glide, but it's called a switch pitch automatic. So when it gets up to a certain RPM, there's vanes in the torque converter that switch over, and it actually makes you feel like you're in another gear. But this engine is 10 1/4 to 1 compression. So what does that mean? Well, it means that manifold vacuum becomes very precious if you have a lot of accessories. Like, for example, if you see here, you see that nice shiny brake booster. Well, I put that in. The fellow that I purchased this from, he had a mechanic change the master cylinder, but left the original brake booster in here, and it was kind of rusty and tired, and I think the bladder was gone. So I bought that and installed it myself. But one thing I ultimately had to do is, this car would not idle under 900 RPM when I bought it. And what it was the intake manifold gasket was gone on this thing. It was just, and I learned from that, because on Buick and Oldsmobile, instead of having a flat in the front here, where my finger is, don't get mad, I don't have my wooden stick, and in the back, they use a little rubber gasket that goes over a knurl that's casted on the block. Whereas, you know, like Chevy, Pontiac, I'm not sure about Cadillac, but it's a flat. Well, I had a lot of oil back here, and it was just leaking real bad. So what I had to do, what I found out was that's where my manifold vacuum was leaking from, and that's why I had power disc brakes, I might add, that felt like, you know, drums that were really worn out, and I couldn't get my idle down. Well, I pulled this intake out and put new gaskets on there, and I've rebuilt the carburetor. I've done a lot of things to this car since I've had it in 5 years. But one thing that we're going to do today, which I've never done, I know it's going to sound funny, but last week I came out here and I pulled the spark plugs for the first time, and they were still kind of somewhat fouled for when we had the intake leak, and they were kind of ugly. So I took them apart, cleaned them, and the car just ran so much better. So what we're going to do today is, let me go over to the other side of the garage. I went on eBay and found the identical plugs that are basically in the car now. I think the correct plug, the AC plug, was AC44, but it had a set of these RJ18YC Champions in there. This box is literally from 1984. So we're going to install brand new almost 40-year-old spark plugs into this car. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do is obviously take them out of the packaging. And also I have one of my, in this case I have my Fluke 75 volt ohm meter here. And I'm going to ohm out these spark plugs to make sure that the spark plugs are good. Because you just don't know if these things been sitting on a shelf for a long time. Not that they'll go bad from aging, but who knows if they were bad in manufacturing. But these were made in USA, so fingers crossed. They're going to be good plugs. And then after I ohm them out, I'm going to gap them, and I'll show you how I gap them in a second. Okay, what you see here in my hand is my father's, that I inherited, spark plug gapper. Okay, now if you look closely, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell. If I bring it up close to light, you're not going to see very good, but there's a number of different tabs on here, and these can be moved around, and each one of these tabs has a different spark plug gap, and they're numbered, and it's not really coming through. I know they're not coming through very well on the camera. So now I have the tab here on the front at 35 thousandths, which is where I want it to be. And I will take my new plug. Hopefully that's coming through here all right. There's a little hook that the plug sits in. You put the, get it in there and squeezed it a little bit. And then you get it, the plug in the hook on the bottom, and just put a little pressure on there. And then you can take it out. Okay, I can set this down, and it's already set the gap to where I want it to be. Okay, I just went out to a local auto parts store that told me they had 4 sets of 8. I won't mention the name of the auto parts store because they're a chain, but I don't like them because of their incompetence, but I went to use them anyway, only because I have one that's just a few blocks away from my house. And they said the store a few towns over had 4 sets of 8. I get to the store and they only have 4. Okay, so this is what I'm kind of talking about that's kind of important. Now these are resistor plugs. These are 4 brand new out of the box from the auto parts store. And let me show you something here. Alright, that one's about 41k ohms, 36k ohms, 40k, uh, 31k. Alright, so these are brand new. Here's, I already put 2 of them in the car. These are the ones I got on eBay. Now this one isn't too bad, but it's a little bit high. I could probably still use this. 77k. I could probably still use this one. But look at these 4 right here. I'm going to pull this one out. Now these are, you got to remember, they're about 36 years old. You know, it's like 171k. Well, now it's starting to grow a little bit. Wait till you see this one. You ready? You're going to love this one. This is a brand new spark plug. Almost 800k ohms. That's just absolutely amazing. This one's almost 600k. And almost 300k. So these 4 plugs are, I don't know, are out of question. I can probably use this one. Now let me show you, I have 4 of the plugs I've already taken out of the motor. These are the spark plugs that were in the car when I bought it 5 years ago. $11K. $11K. So basically these plugs seem to be all around 10 or 11K. I've got 4 of them here. Now this was 13K. That's a little bit higher. All right, almost 11K. So I'm running points in the distributor. I'm not using an HEI. I tried to put a GM HEI in there and they wouldn't fit. So I've got these 4 new ones. I already have 3 more that I already put in the engine. So I'll probably go ahead and put this 80K one in there. And I'll just save all the old plugs. These are probably going to go in the garbage. So just a kind of a lesson as to why this is kind of important to do this before you put them in the car. I've always done this. I did it as a kid. My father showed me. And I put in my favorites. There's a guy that shows you actually how to do everything and do this check here. Of course, 90 degrees, so my automatic choke ain't gonna work right. Thing fired right up.